everyone. My name is Rebby Silverman. I sit on the partnerships team at Canva. We are a proud partner of AFI FEST, 3 years in the making. And I am joined today by two very esteemed AFI alumni, both graduates of the Directing Fellowship Program. Patty Jenkins, writer, director, executive producer behind films including Monster, Wonder Woman 1984. William Means, writer, director, producer. His film JUNKIE is premiering at Fest tomorrow. Patty is an executive producer on the film, and I believe it is sold out. So hopefully some of you were lucky enough to snag a ticket. And if not, you can find a way to see the film later. And then we're
also standby line.
Standby line. Get in the line. And we're joined by Jen Proud, who you'll hear from a little later in today's presentation. She is going to be running us through a live Canva demo. So we'll get into that a little bit. But the first part of our conversation today, we're going to go on a bit of a creative journey. We are going to hear from Patty and Will about the process of collaborating together to bring JUNKIE to life, a bit of how the story came to be, what it was like working together from concept to screen, and then some of the tools you guys used along the way to make this film. But before we do that, we are going to watch the trailer so we can dive in.
Motherfucker, she thinks she got me. Give it! No! Stop! Got it! You suck! You better run, bitch!
You said you ran away from rehab again.
I wouldn't say I ran away. I did leave.
Oh my God.
Y'all don't know how bad it was getting sober. It's like fucking trying to dance with no music on.
Well, if your ass gets sent to jail, there definitely ain't gonna be no music for you in there.
That's where you can come in. I need to get enough cash to buy a fucking bus ticket to get the fuck out of this town. So I figure I can just go deal for you one last time.
Girl, I always knew you lived a big, exciting life.
You only care about what makes you feel good. Men, drugs, booze. I can't compete with it. I never could, and I can't stand being around it.
Oh, Liam! It didn't matter how fried my brain was. I was always thinking, I hope to God he knows I love him. People have called me names all my life. Slut, bitch, white trash, junkie. And I may be those things, but I can't be those things to my kid.
Amazing. Well, we're going to dive right in with Will. We're going to start with you. So walk us through a bit of the inspiration story behind JUNKIE. Why did you need to make this film? Why did you need to tell this story?
Oh, gosh. Well, a lot of it is definitely, I think, just trying to break through as a filmmaker in this industry. And I had met Patty back when I was still in the conservatory program, and we had hit it off, and we're actually developing like a different idea together. And then all the things in the film industry happen with financing falling through, and like her getting pulled on to this project and that project. And so I started kind of scaling back from that idea because, like, honestly, if I had learned anything at the institute, it was to not sit around waiting, hoping that somebody else is going to like put your big opportunity in your lap, that like you really have to do your very best to go get it for yourself. And so I scaled back to a different idea of like, okay, what if I did this one film that's very like what I know, like rooted in the South and addiction culture and stuff like that, and it was more of like a surrealist horror film that all took place in one house. So it was like one location is doable, and then when my producer friends budgeted it out, they were like, this is going to be like almost $2 million because you have like a stunt in every scene of the house. So then I was having existential crisis, and my editor Noam Clement over there and Patty at the same time, pretty much, I had talks with both of them where I was like, yeah, I just feel like I'm in like a room full of doors that are closing and I don't know what to do next. And both of them like harassed me at one point and were like, you really don't think you have like a smaller idea in your head that you could do for like less than $1 million? And so I started brainstorming and came up with JUNKIE, which is basically like the inverse of the other idea I tried to develop beforehand called Calamity. And I met with my friend Rocky Shea, who's the lead actor right there, who's also sitting over there, and told her that I was sort of having this idea about like, okay, what if there was like a mother addict, but instead of it being a sad, heavy addiction drama where everyone's gunning for an Oscar and crying about what a burden life is, what if instead it was like a bit more of a romp and like a crazy adventure thriller, and caught more of the highs and lows of like, people don't do drugs to be a burden and cry all the time. They do it because it's really fun when they do it. And so it was like, what if we showed every aspect of that? And Rocky was like, well, I should tell you a bit more about my life, and proceeds to hand me like a stack of journals of hers that she kept from her own experiences as an addict back in the day, which she's clean and sober now, and doing amazing. So, yeah, that's the idea. But I also knew there was a mud bogging festival in Kentucky called Redneck Rave coming up that I had heard about. And I was like, wouldn't it be bonkers if you could shoot something there? And it was going to be happening in like 2 months from when I was having the idea. And so I was like, okay, shit, if we want this to happen this year, we have to go like now. So threw the idea together. Didn't even have enough money to finish the film, to make a whole film in one go. We were like, we'll just shoot what we can until we run out. But yeah, and so I dipped out to Georgia on a whim, and I made like my best friend since childhood, who has never touched like movie producing in her life, produce it for me. Just threw her under the bus. And there basically was no time for prep on this film, but so a lot of it was prep my team and I had tried to do for the other idea, Calamity, and we like transplanted it onto this film pretty much. And basically the whole time I just had the ghost of Patty Jenkins hanging over me, being like, knowing that since I had this relationship with her, that she would probably be willing to watch my film whenever I finished it, and would she like it enough to be involved in it. So I was sweating the whole time. Yeah.
And it's a good segue, Patty. So what drew you to the story, or when you eventually saw the film, what made you want to come on and executive produce?
So Will and I already had a connection and had sort of hit it off and had a kindred spirit thing. And I liked his ideas of his other films that we had been trying to more proactively get made. And then it was just, I got really busy, and it was a moment where he was, having to face not being able to raise enough money, and another movie that we had just we weren't able to get the funding secured. And so I was just so proud of him, honestly, because I knew that he had loved Monster, my first film, and so what he did, and I was telling him this yesterday, is he did something where I was like, whoa, that is a kindred film, because you did something radically different than Monster, but so it's its own film. It's not like mimicking it at all, but you delved into a world that I'd never seen. and you normalized it, and you got me comfy there to the point that I was like, that does look kind of fun, like where I was actually like, I can imagine getting sucked right into that, I mean, I was peripherally close with lots of people like that in my youth, and so I get it. But anyway, it's also electrically entertaining, funny, great. The acting is amazing, It's like it was a total success. And so it was a no-brainer that I was like, Will, I'm in. Like, whatever. He was finishing the film and editing and, in process. But I was like, absolutely would be proud to be a part of it.
So sort of moving along in our journey, you're making this film. We understand you don't have a ton of time or a ton of money to do this. Take us from concept to screen. I know you talked about Calamity, and that was the original vision, and then things pivoted. So what did that process look like, going from point A, Calamity, to eventually producing Junkie?
Yeah, so I'll say, like, full disclosure, I worked on a passion project script that I've worked on for, like, over 10 years, which was a biopic about the serial killer Ed Gein from the 50s, and then Ryan Murphy coincidentally decided to be doing his own take that is literally coming out the same month as my debut feature. So that was the first pivot I made was from that project to this one called Calamity, and that was the one I'd worked even more so on with Patty because it was an empathetic portrayal of a serial killer. And then moving to Calamity, yeah, that was going more towards my roots. Like, I'm from southern Georgia, like a swamp town, basically, and I feel like especially when you see movies like Southern-based films, it's all like, okay, it's like the No Country for Old Men, like Blues and Grays is what it's shot in, and everyone's wearing a cowboy hat and all that. And Monster was one of really the first films I saw that I thought like really captured the South that I knew and grew up in, which was very like green and lush and humid, and there weren't supermodels in cowboy hats like playing all the main characters. Like, they took a supermodel and like uglied her down basically to make her look like a real person. And I felt like I really wanted to make something similar to that. And so the pictures you're looking at right now were a lookbook that me and my team were developing for this film called Calamity that was going to end up costing too much money, but it was all the ideas that you're seeing here of like, this is more the vibe of the people, this is the vibe of the like environment where it's like very colorful scenery and greens and stuff like that. And then when that was still going to be too expensive to make, but then I'm like, what if we did something as crazy as like shot a climax at like a big mud bogging festival that's on Memorial Day that is like a month away? How quickly can we like prepare that film? And so I kind of got, I had great training at AFI to have way too much time to prepare, and especially because the pandemic hit when I was there, and it was like, so we had extra time to develop our films. It's like you do a shot list, you shoot, you practice every shot on an iPhone, like everything is so rehearsed, and I got so cozy with that. And then Junkie, because we had to be ready in time for this deadline, was such a complete return to like childhood basics for me, where there was no time to prep anything. There was not a like shot list for the movie whatsoever. None of the crew saw the locations literally until we arrived to shoot them every day. And it was like a whole exercise in shooting from the hip. But I think that the number one thing that helped was the fact that the crew I took, like the DP, the production designer, someone who I wanted to be one of the actors in both, like, we were like, well, shit, there's no time to prepare. What do we do? And it was like, I think that Calamity book we did is a pretty good basis. So let's just, instead of going surrealist horror, let's take that and maybe just like desaturate it a bit and push it more into like a grimy, more realistic world on the fly.
Love it. And Patty, obviously, Monster, Wonder Woman, executive producing. Curious about your approach to visual storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah, mine has really evolved over the years, of course. It's interesting you're saying that about prepping and planning. I don't think we did shot lists at all when I was at AFI. It was a very different way of teaching. It was much more like European fly by the seat of your pants. Because I was a camera person for a long time before, and really I credit training as a painter. Because I trained as a painter, the irony is I'm a very buttoned, deep planner. But it's because of my painting training, where it's like, what are you going to do, and how are you going to do it? But I also, when I made Monster, I didn't have, that all happened very quickly as well. $1.5 million budget and 23 days shooting, so it was complete chaos. And so I did do stuff then, but there was no time for lookbooks, blah, 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 blah. It was like I wrote the script and we were in production, which was lucky and great, but not that. As the years have gone by, I definitely, for every project I tried to make leading up to Wonder Woman that didn't get made, I did a lot of, and it was very laborious back then, lookbooks really for myself more than, that's not what was going on in pitching back then so much, but I have a huge thing of film stills that I had collected over the years that I was doing and would really be hunkered down on what's the look, what's the color, what's the thing, and doing my own shot lists. And then when I did the Wonder Woman films, that expands into, and I'll try to keep this shorter and wrap it up, but that expands into something that I now really believe in, which is I had the job and I was making the movie, so it wasn't about selling the movie. But of course, for myself, you want to do these incredible visual presentations, and it ends up being incredible for the studio. So I did just epic boards, huge boards, around a whole room. So you could walk into the room and walk through it. And so theoretically, the reason that they're happy to pay for that is for the studio to be able to do it. But actually, it became an incredible tool for the entire movie. And I will never not do it now. Because any person, even products, even Target, when they're going to make a Wonder Woman doll or whatever, come on in. So now everybody can see exactly what the movie is, what it feels like, what it looks like, what the tone is. Helps all of your keys be on the same page. And so that's really my process now, and I'm a big believer in it. And so it's one of the things that's so great about Canva is the ability to encourage people to really do that, because the more people know what you're doing, the more they can do it.
Right. They can get on board. They're living and experiencing the world. Absolutely. And we'll see a little bit of that later.
Just looking at that still of Eileen, such an icon. Can't deal.
Okay, so we've reached the summit of the mountain. We are sort of charting new horizons. Actually, before I dive into that piece, question for you, Patty, actually, talking about you're a very visual person, you're planning, you're bringing people into your world. I imagine things have changed a lot, obviously, since you started out in the industry. So sort of a two-parter, what has changed for you, for filmmakers, when pitching and creating work? And what's sort of that balance you take of embracing sort of new technologies, whether that be AI or tools like Canva, while maintaining that artistic vision?
So things have changed radically. I don't even know, because I haven't pitched anything in a long time now. It's been, it's been a while. It's just not, the projects I'm working on have been designed differently than that. However, the AI of it all and how that will be a participant, not only in my own visual, I'm writing right now, and I'm designing stuff as I'm writing. I'm sitting there coming up with products and things that are in my movie by myself with AI. And that's a game changer, because particularly as a frustrated artist who understands painting and all those things, but didn't have, I don't have time to sit around and figure those things out. My ability to do the art, the concept art and the things like that now by myself is massively different. The ability for people to do things like you can do on Canva, where you can really just take on all of that. There's pros and cons, which is like, there's a soullessness in certainly some of the things that come out. So it's like, we're still gonna need real artists, but not barely as much, and I'm worried for them. What I feel bad about AI is I definitely look at a number of the people that I would employ on a Wonder Woman and know their jobs are gone. I'm like, we just don't need the visual effects artists, blah, 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 blah. Even half your crew. I'm like, I could do that shot by myself now, like in a room by myself. However, the thing that super excites me, which has been something I've tried to embrace even along with the changes that have happened in our world with YouTubers and influencers and whatever, is my least favorite thing in our industry is that the amount of gatekeepers that have been standing between artists and expressing themselves that won't go away no matter how much success, because it's not about money. There's a group of people who they want to keep doing the same old thing and the same old thing, and they have kept it. The democratization of art is so exciting to me. The fact that anybody can get their film made and their very specific thing. There's a kid who just made a Star Wars short film with his dad that's incredible looking. And I'm like, that's great. Good. Get out of the way, all the gatekeepers. We don't need all the gatekeepers between us and our art and us and our audiences. And I'm nothing but happy to see that change.
Yeah, it really is a fine balance. We'll wrap up here with you. So we are actually looking at a deck you've designed in Canva. You are a Canva user. You are a Canva fan. I know you pitched and sold a commercial project last year on Canva. This year. Tell us a little bit about that process. How did you use Canva to get folks on board, to sell this work, to produce it? What did it unlock for you?
Yeah. Well, shameless plug for Canva is that kind of to what Patty was saying is where the industry is going is stressing me out, because the film I always grew up wanting to make was just raw, grimy, everyone has to do everything by hand, film, and that's what I really wanted to make. And I feel it is becoming so corporate and such a churned out quick product nowadays that it seems like people are less and less willing to even greenlight an idea unless they know exactly what they're going to get out of it, which is exactly why you're getting the same superhero Marvel thing on repeat, or a horror 11th installment in a franchise, because there's just a template for how that film works. And that's the thing that the men upstairs are most willing to let through the gates that Patty's referring to. And so such a pivot for me going from JUNKIE, which feels like a blessing because it was the one time I could from beginning to end have complete control of everything. And then all of a sudden I need to actually make money rather than just burn it in this industry, and had the opportunity to pitch for this commercial, which of course was all about it's for an online gambling app. And so it's we have to sell the idea that in order to be the epitome of a man who's going to get all the sexiest ladies on earth and everything, you have to gamble with this app, and all your dreams will come true. And it was the first time that I was okay, well, here's a quick pitch deck of what my vision and vibe for it would be. And it was gradually that's not enough to hire you. Be more specific about this, be more specific about this, until it got to me making the pages that you're looking at, where it was straight up I had to be this is how it's going to be shot. It's going to and maybe I can't exactly create the camera movement I want to. The camera movement I have in my head is a combination of two different shots, but I could find a GIF example of what those shots were on Canva, put them side by side, and literally I did my arrows to just dummy proof it of if you please give me this commercial job, it's gonna do this, and then it's gonna go here, and it's gonna look like this. And it's it was the slowest process where I was I thought y'all were in a hurry to crank this out, and then instead for 2 months unpaid, I'm going back and forth with Canva decks with them, and it would be okay, now can you add a page of music references? Wait, can we have options for music references? I was I don't even have to do that. That's in post. That's after my job is done, but sure. But it was yeah, a complete pivot from JUNKIE to you have to show them exactly what we're doing. And to what Patty is saying is I feel as much as AI scares the shit out of me, I do know that it's the gatekeepers. It's they want it as dummy proofed as ever. It's I'll let you do the thing with real people if you can show me exactly what you're gonna do, but just with AI. I want to see what the whole product is gonna look like.
Totally. Yeah. And you know what? It's obviously you have to know your audience. And so if the arrows from this to that helped sell the idea, which it did in your case, and you ended up creating the work, did the job.
Yes, I did. I did get the job.
He got the job. Amazing. Well, we're going to pivot a bit. We're going to call Jen up, Jen Proud, our amazing Canva expert, to actually dive into Canva. So what we're going to see from Jen is some of the concepts we talked about today, everything from world building to getting your team on board and communicating your vision. We're going to show you how to do that in Canva. And with that, I'm actually going to pass the mic over to you. Let you do your thing.
Great. Hi, everyone. And I will say, feel free to jump in as I'm going through, because this is really your work that you've gifted me to play around with in Canva. So if there are things that you want to share along the way, feel free to do that. Before I do dive in, I am really curious, who in the room is already using Canva? Oh, I love that. I love that for us. Okay. Then I won't take a tremendous amount of time orienting us around the home screen, but I will do like a really quick just dip in so that we know where we're at. So right now, this is the Canva product. This is the home screen. As you can see, there's a number of little tiles here that can help us jump into any media type really quickly. We also have a wonderful search bar that'll help us find things that we've either created or templates that we're looking for, or even dive into using AI for some of those things that we were talking about earlier. Along the left-hand side, you can see that there are some key kind of areas highlighted, like our projects, which are also shortcutted here in this kind of nested menu, so we can keep track of all of our inspiration and pieces that we're bringing in that we're going to want to reference later once we start making things. We have a number of templates that are available that are created by artists and designers that are all available in this library, so you can always have a great place to start. I'll just click on that quickly so you can see what that looks like. And then there's also a brand kit here so that you can start to get your brand set up and art direction or creative direction, whatever you need to get going. Lastly, there is some really amazing features with Canva AI. So from here, and thinking about the creation of JUNKIE in particular, Calamity already had a lookbook, and I want to talk about kind of that ideation process and how we can leverage Canva to start to get all of our ideas, disparate as they may be or unorganized as they may be, all into one place. So this very first format we're looking at is the whiteboard. So it's a non-linear space. This is a place where anybody can jump in. They can dump images, reference pieces, video, and as we get in here, you'll see that I've already started kind of pulling in some of the items from the inspiration that was being formed around Calamity. So we've got some key moments from the story. We have some of the images to define the setting and some of those locations. We've got timeline, and we've also got some references for styling, for color. And then if we continue over, you'll see we have some character development and some environments. This is a really great place where we can start to get all of these pieces into one place. And it is really nice because, as you were mentioning, Will, about kind of having that like gritty style of wanting to work, what I really love about Canva is you can also start uploading in files. So there's a way to just start dragging in pieces. So if you've got sketches that are on, sheets of paper, you can bring those in as well. So it doesn't matter, how you're trying to collaborate or what you're trying to bring in. You can really kind of unify it all here so that everyone's mind can be dumped out and into a visual space. Aside from that, there are a number of elements that we can leverage within Canva. So if we don't have these pieces to begin with, if we go into the Elements tab here on the left, I've already typed in Swamp Forest just to start getting some content. And you'll see there's photos and videos here. So if we click on See More, we can see that there are some really interesting images or video pieces, and we can just simply click on those and start to bring those in. I can drag them into a frame and start to have them automatically fit into this kind of environment that I'm building. The other wonderful thing about these artboards is that they're really collaborative. So not only can one singular person start to build this, but they can invite in the rest of their team. So as you can see here, we have some gaps in our timeline. We need to bridge this event.
It was a little...
What happened?
Yeah, it's been the sound from another theater, but that did go on for a little while.
Oh.
I just thought everyone was like really shook by my reference photos.
I know, I was like, what's on screen?
Yeah, if anybody is overpowered by my old lookbook for Calamity and they're like, I really need to see this film, like we're taking donations, so.
Back on track? Okay.
I'm so serious.
So for the sake of collaboration, we can easily invite in whoever else needs to kind of add their ideas in here. So you see I've got a sticky note here. I can click on this little speech bubble and comment. I've already started one. So if I click here, I can now say, Kate, can you jump in? I can assign it to Kate. And now I can have an assignment here for Kate to jump in, and she can be in the file real time. Let's see, I think I saw her flying around in here somewhere. So we can see things moving around and being worked on as we are also in our own kind of workspace. From here, I'm gonna jump. What am I missing?
Kate's comment. That was not an
Kate.
earthquake.
Oh my gosh. You're so fast. Amazing. So from here, we've got Kate kind of tinkering around in there, giving us some laughs. And we want to now translate what we've done in Calamity over to some new moods for JUNKIE. So I'm jumping over now to a copy of this that has kind of been reworked so that we can start to get some of our inspiration from JUNKIE into a mood board. So we'll start by looking at some of the references that we've already brought in. So if I click on brand here, I can start to access some of those folders we were looking at earlier. I have a number of stills. I have some grabs from the EPK. I've got some color references. So if I click on color references, I can see this is another deck that was provided, and we've got some really great stuff in here. So all I need to do when I have these frames set up is literally just kind of drag and drop in. It makes it really easy for us to take some of the references and start to kind of take the ones that we want to start using and bring them all together in one place. I can also grab some of the film stills. So if part of it's been partially shot and we want to reference some of the pieces that have been already shot, we can also start to bring some of those in as well. But the thing that's really cool is that we can also leverage Shot Deck from Canva. So if you're already pulling references, if you have decks that you have started to collect from, you can just go right into those decks and start to bring those references over themselves. So that can be found in apps, but I've also got a little shortcut here. So I'm going to click on Shot Deck. And I can search from scratch in Shot Deck. So if I haven't collected something ahead of time, I can just do it on the fly and find something that feels like a really nice fit. But if I have started to pull decks already, you can see that all the decks that I have started to save are already here in this panel. So I can pull some different moods from this board. And you can see I've got some great references from Monster here. We've got some from some other films like Spring Breakers, and we can pull these in to our board for reference. The last thing that I'll show you in here before we move on to our next segment is I know that there's a lot of reference for color here, and the really nice thing about Canva is that when we click on an image, I'm going to give it a minute here. We'll see if I can get it to work. Maybe because it's in the, there we go. When it's not, it can't be in a frame. But when we've got our image, you'll notice that at the top, we've got 3 tiles that are starting to pull the color that's naturally in the image. So it's a really nice way to kind of get some cheats and start to see what color palettes are maybe popping up on a regular basis. And even when we click on these, we'll start to see all of the color palettes that are in all of the images in the file. So we get some really nice previews on maybe what trends we're kind of seeing as we're pulling in the references to the mood board.
Love it. Patty, it reminds me of sort of these in-room worlds you've built. This is almost like, the digital version of it, of bringing people along for the ride. Yeah. If they can't come in person and see it and experience it, it's sort of a really tangible way.
I'm excited about it too, because I actually think that back in the day, people weren't even teaching people how important this is. Like I can't tell you how many filmmakers I knew that never picked a color palette, I think the world has just changed so much with people understanding design now. But it used to be a thing that I really was bummed for people, that I was like, no, just decide. Where you'd see their films were just visually a mess or whatever. There was a much more like, I don't know, you just feel your way there, where it's like, no, you can just decide, work it out in advance, and then you're not wasting anybody's time on set. So I'm excited that it's teaching people how to do that.
Totally. And we can move on to our next segment, which will show actually some of this sort of groundwork, whether it's deciding color and look and feel and building that world, how that helps making something like a pitch deck that much easier.
Amazing. So for this next section, we're really translating these kind of abstract ideas into something that's a little bit more linear, something that we can share out, that has some more organization around the story. And thankfully, Canva is really, really wonderful in providing some helpful resources for that. So you'll notice I'm on canva.com/entertainment. And as we scroll down this page, you'll see that there is a section here that has a number of templates that have been predefined for a lot of the functions that are happening throughout this process. So we've got film and pitch decks, treatment decks, production docs, which is a really wonderful place to start for some of that organization that there's usually not time for. So just to get a jump or get ideas around that can be really helpful. We have mood boards, and you'll even notice that the mood board that we were working in was a whiteboard that I had originally pulled from this template. So it's a really great jumping off point to get us going. From here, though, let's say that we're working on this pitch deck. So I'm going to go back here. And I really like kind of the simplicity of this one. So let's say I'm going to move forward with this one. But before I do that, I really need to get the look and feel of the film kind of captured so that when I bring that template in, I can apply the look that's going to be appropriate for JUNKIE. So I'm going to jump back over here to the Canva homepage. And you'll notice I'm just kind of down on the left side here, there's a little brand tab. And this is where we can start to keep track of specific art directions or even specific films. So in this case, I have selected JUNKIE, but you'll notice there's a number of other films in here, so we can have many that we're kind of keeping track of. There is a section for guidelines, so if there are some styles that have been established, those can get uploaded into this section. And then the rest of it is pretty tactical. So we're looking at things like just making sure that we've got either the production logo, the film's logo, all of those can be uploaded in here to begin with so that we have them. If there's colors that we want to make sure that we have represented in the decks themselves so that they are carrying through the vibe overall, we can make sure that we've got colors here. Fonts so that we've got hierarchy. And then obviously we have lots of reference pieces. So if we can link in those folders here, they'll be really quick for us to grab once we get into the editor. And it's really as simple as just adding from this button, and then we can add a folder and we can go right in and grab what we need. Okay, so now we need to bridge together the template that we have picked and our brand. So I'm jumping over now to that template. I have kind of done the pre-work and stripped out the images. It's not really necessary, but you can just replace them yourselves. But for the sake of ease here, we've just kind of stripped those out. And we want to apply our colors. So I'm going to the top here where we have this design tile. And if you go across to styles, you'll notice that we see our shortcuts for the fonts that we've already selected for this brand. And the brand is just highlighted here, so we can choose between them. So we've got JUNKIE selected. And then we've also got our color palettes. There's two separate ones. Applying the color and the type is truly as simple as just clicking the button, and it will apply them to all pages. Same goes for color. All we need to do is click, and it's going to shuffle until we get to the color that we want to use for the slide. And we can do that to all of the slides as we go through and just simply make sure that we've got both of them applied. The other thing I want to do, though, is make sure that we've got our logo. So I'm actually going to go back to black here. We'll go down to brand, and you'll notice that I also now have that same menu of items that we saw in the brand kit. So I'm going to select my logo, and I will grab JUNKIE so that we can pop that in. Let's say I want all these in caps. I'll just do that really easily here so that we can get that all consistent. And now I need to start bringing in some of the images that we've been collecting that were approved from that kind of ideation session that we really want to make sure that we carry through into our pitch deck. So if I go back to brand, again, you would remember that I had saved kind of these shortcuts to all of our folders within this Photos tab. So I can simply click on Film Stills, and I already have the pieces here that I want to leverage for our kit. And I will start to drag them in one by one, and you can kind of just see how easy it is to bring them over from this template.
Rocky, you look amazing.
So amazing. This wonderful shot. We've got our characters, so let's find some images with our characters here. Stevie, and then I know there was one of Liam back up here. Where was that? Here's a good one. Wonder if I go.
And while Jen is pulling in this imagery, Will, I know you didn't necessarily have the time to do this, but you know, having used Canva for other applications, what would this have been like for you? You know, is this something you see applying to future projects you're working on?
Oh gosh, well, like I said, I mean, like what was my biggest burden in making this was also my biggest blessing, which was that like I said, it was completely independent and I was in control, so I didn't have to prove what I wanted to do to anybody. But yeah, like I know that I can't jump onto another film project without someone just really wanting to see everything dummy proofed of what you want to do. And it's like now, even having a completed film, like we've had to make more like lookbooks, pitch decks for JUNKIE than we ever did to get it made. Like we have to make an electronic press kit, and just to go out to the film festivals, like it's all this stuff where you want the color coordinated this and that to market your film as just like a book you can hand someone to say you should play this at your film festival. Yeah, that's just even after the movie is made.
And it got, Jen and I on board as well in like understanding the vision for the project. Yeah, Patty.
You know, the other thing I love about it is that it's been so frustrating having to work through other people's hands, particularly like one of the first things I pick for any project is the font. I had studied typography and I love typography, and font tells you so much about what your project is, the more you hunker in on those sorts of things. So it's like sitting around and being able, as the filmmaker, to do this as a way to find your vision rather than hand it off to somebody else and then you're like, oh, I guess that's cool, you know? I think it's so awesome because just being able to sit around and be like, oh yeah, that's the movie that I'm making. Like I picked the Marlboro font for Monster, was one of the first things I picked. I was like, it's
such a good choice.
Midnight Cowboy meets a Marlboro ad meets this story, and eureka, it tells you so much about like, oh, now I know what I'm doing. I know where it should start and where it should stop. I know that I'm, what I'm focused on. It's really awesome.
It's funny you say that about the font, because the level of how that gets your movie pitched to someone is insane, because just like you said that for Monster, like once we do JUNKIE, we're like, what the hell is the font for this? And everyone is like, oh, it's like it's cracking and it's falling apart. And I was like, no, like bold and like NASCAR, like that's the drug movie.
Somebody else owns Monster now, even though I'm trying to buy it. And it's like fucking nails on a chalkboard that they did a fucking like shattered glass horror movie poster.
I know the
and
one,
that's what's on like
Blu-ray.
Amazon and stuff. I'm like, oh, that is not my movie at all, you know? And so that's half of why I'm trying to buy it back, is just to put a better poster on.
And you'll see, Jen has pulled up Canva's font library, which, I mean, we could have a demo and workshop on fonts alone, but, using things like keywords.
Yeah, so I just typed distressed in. I mean, and I think that's the really nice thing about the brand kit as well, is it doesn't need to be just one primary font. I mean, you can really pull in kind of all, like what's packaging, what's signage going to look like, what are all those typefaces that we're going to see based on the environment, and you can start to kind of curate those. Which is really nice, and you can bring those into that whiteboard as well. So even if it is some of that more graphic style of design, you can really have the references that are going to be in those worlds and start to, define what that looks like, which is really great. Before we move on, the last thing that I'll just touch on here. So we've got this deck, all compiled. Obviously, there's a copy component and things like that, but for getting a deck kind of on brand, it was really only a matter of a few minutes to make sure that we had everything in here. And this is because we had that template to jump off from, which is, really, it can really unblock you when you need to get something like this out. But obviously this is something we have to share with the world. So how are we going to get it out of Canva and into the hands of the folks who need to be looking at it? The beauty of that is you should just really leave it in Canva. Is kind of the spoiler on that, because there's really amazing sharing functionality. So when we click on this share button, one of the things that I love the most, also being a creative person, is that you can create a public view link. So I'm going to do that now. And then I can add multiple links. So if I have multiple stakeholders or multiple folks who are reviewing this for different reasons, I can make them each their own individual link. And then I can see if they looked at it or not. And I can see how much time they spent on it. And I can see which pages they spent time on and how many times they came back to it. And if they were just on the budget page or if they were on my creative pages. And that is really, really nice.
This is very much like when you're submitting to film festivals and they promise you that they watched your film and then you're like, I have the receipt of how much of it you watched. You can do that for your pitch decks now.
I love it. So it's a really, really nice way to make sure that you have everything that you need to make sure that it's been viewed. You can follow up the way that you need to follow up. And you can keep tabs on it. And then obviously, you're going to want to pull it back. So at any point, you can remove these links. You can depublish the link so that it is not available. So once you're funded and you want to pull it down, or if you decide to shift gears and you don't want someone snagging your stuff, you just take it right offline. So it's really, really a great tool for getting it shared out and also managing it long term so that it's not just a PDF that's in somebody's inbox and then you've lost control over it.
Okay. Last beat.
Yep.
Wrap it up. Great question.
You got to get Canva.
But if you send a public view link, you actually, you don't need Canva. You don't even need to be logged in.
Oh, for viewing? Yeah. Yeah. No, anyone can view it anyway. It just opens in the browser. It's super easy, really clean. Views really clean. If there's animations or video, all of it, you can set it to autoplay. You've got a lot of control to also manage how they view it. Yeah.
I can also shamelessly plug, because I do feel like I have to give props to my DP, who I spot sitting in the audience, because I know he's like, girl, where did you get all of my work and why is it being broadcast in front of this crowd right now? I literally got on Canva because I went to him panicking like, oh my God, I might get a commercial. And he was like, here, you can look at some of my pitch decks. And like, they were all made through Canva. But so I was still, without having ever touched Canva in my life, I was able to get very acquainted.
And I'm deleting both of those public view links at the same time. You're welcome. Okay. Amazing.
All right, we'll round it out. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you ready to go? Okay. So our movie's been greenlit. It's funded, right? Obviously. So there's a lot to do. Again, if you remember on the canva.com/entertainment page, we had a number of templates there. So these are just templates that I have pulled from that template library. You can obviously brand them so they fit your film, but we've got the ability to use spreadsheets and docs and a lot of other tools that maybe would have lived elsewhere, all in one place. So because we're visual people and we're telling these visual stories, but we do have to do these kind of more tactical things, it's really nice to have things like spreadsheets and other materials in one place. So I'm going to click on this kind of page tile at the bottom, and you'll notice that this isn't the only document that I have here. I have a number of them, and they're all different. So here I have a spreadsheet. I can also have a doc, so I can have something that is a more traditional written format. I can put my shot list in here, which is, again, a spreadsheet, but in this instance, I also have added things like little drop downs, details on the time of day that we're shooting, and I can even bring in visual references, so we can even go back, and let's grab another still. And let's say this one has been shot and all I need to do is just drag these into the cell. And now I also have my visual reference connected to my written references so that everything is really, really clearly organized and all together. We can also link to different files out of here. So if we've got kind of different whiteboards for different environments, it's really easy to keep it all kind of connected and mapped together using these tools. And then we also can go even into like production schedule and really get down and nitty gritty. But the beauty of this is that we have all of the materials that we need in one single place. So people don't have to dig around and find it. Is it version final or final? Who owns it? Do I have access to it? It's all in one place, and it's really, really easy for the whole team to get on board and make sure that they have what they need and that they're staying up to date. And if they're not sure, they can just drop a comment in here just like we did earlier and ask and find out what they need and have kind of that collaboration all happen here. aside from just these tactical documents, we can also have more visual references. So I grabbed a few of the title slides, which were super fun, and I was really kind of obsessed with, into here so that, you know, you could see some of the styling that was coming together, like beyond what we had seen. And this is also a social post, which if we wanted to even just quickly animate this, I mean, we could magic animate it, just to really cheat. And now we have animation.
Girl, can you send that to me after?
You got it. I'm gonna have to make the link public again. If that's okay.
Just for that one.
So yeah, so there's, I mean, this can really expand between presentation, video. I mean, I could have every document that we worked on in this single file. They are separated just because of the way we demoed it, but they can all really live in one place, which is pretty wonderful and makes it really easy to go from ideation and really loose kind of working into something that you're pitching, into something that you're producing and you need to make happen.
So we have, I think, 3 minutes left before another film screens in here. Do we have any questions? We'll probably take one or two, either for Jen, about Canva, the product itself, Patty and Will. Any hands? Yes, over there. Oh, there's a mic coming to you.
Thank you for this. This is incredible. So to start this, do you just start this from like new project, or where does this initiate?
That's such a great question. Thanks for asking that. So you can start this from any doc type. So wherever you want to start is fine. And when you want to add a new one, you'll notice there's this plus sign on the end. And if you click the up arrow, it'll give you additional doc types, and you can continue kind of adding on from that point with whatever additional doc types you need. So you can basically expand with this little page tab, and any file that you're in Canva will be able to get added onto. Thanks for that question. That was great.
Any other questions? Yes, we have a hand over there.
Hi, thank you guys. I was curious for projects like JUNKIE or for Monster, how do you manage to be creative with staging with the limited time for planning that you have? And then how is staging different for Monster versus like a Wonder Woman for Patty?
I can say that not unlike picking font, you have to kind of have been narrowed down on what you're trying to do. And when it came to Monster, I chose performance above all. And so I was like, I have to. So whereas I would have loved to have shot it like Badlands and have big, long wides and things, I knew that I needed to pick her best performance at every second. So I was like, I'm going to shoot it like this. I'm going to shoot it with as many big masters as I can, but then always favor her and always have coverage and do that stuff. So really then it's geometry, because then it's like I could walk onto a set on the day. And I still work this way a lot of times, because on my scout, I'll walk into a location, I'll know the style that I'm trying to shoot in the film, and then I'll do the geometry. So I walk in and I'm like, oh, this is the better direction, master, the single. Okay, it's like I can figure it out. Or if you're just doing a oneer, here's the oneer, okay, there's the blocking. So I think like it's great to plan ahead and it's important to plan ahead, but actually if you have committed to a style for your film, that's the more important thing, and then you can apply it. And you need to have that tool in your toolkit anyway, because stuff always changes. So, you know, you could be on a set you've planned for a year and a half, and then something happens, and you have to be able to pivot, you know? So that's it for me. It's sort of the same equation. What's the movie, you know? And how have you decided? Is it handheld? Is it, you know, what's the plan?
Yeah, I can say, like something else I know that, because what I do like about this is how it's just a one-stop shop where you can put everything, including something like Shot List now. But like when I did my short film before JUNKIE, we had such a ridiculous amount of shots that we wanted to get of like an insanely choreographed like dance piece at the end. And because we had rehearsed like every single shot on an iPhone, it was like we could just go to our camera operator guy and like before every shot be like, this is what you do, this is what you do. So it was just like the planning was so down to like having it all in one place where everyone sort of had like a book they could go through, which again is why JUNKIE was like crazy polar opposite, in which case I say get yourself like a really bitchin' DP, because we knew like we have the budget to make a movie of just two people in a room the whole time, but it was like, okay, well, how do we cheat and give that massive epic scale, like by going to something like a mud bogging festival, and he had to be ready to catch things on the fly like a guy flipping his four-wheeler in a shot that we completely did not plan. So
Love it.
different methods.
I think we're at about time. Jen, if you don't mind going back to the presentation, there is, I know not everyone raised their hand for using Canva. So for those new users, we want to get you in the product. So take a picture of this and test it out at home. Go have a play at it. I saw some other hands being raised. We'll be outside after so we can answer questions and continue there. There's some hats. There's some newspapers outside. Grab on your way out. I want to say a huge, huge thank you to Patty and Will. Thank you for your time, your insights. We loved having you. And go see Junkie, get in the standby line. It's an amazing film, and congrats again.
Yeah, I'd be having people who are like, oh, wait, I can't make it, and I have a ticket. So there will be some seats if you hit that standby
Definitely
line,
go
I'm
see
sure.
it. It's incredible.